It says the Binduri Community Day Senior High School in the Upper East region has been shut down following protests by students over lack of food. Now, on Tuesday, July 11, 2023, some agitated students boycotted classes to protest and express their displeasure about the inability of the school's administration to provide them with the one hot meal daily for some time now.
Okay.
It goes on to say sources within the school told Graphic Online's Gilbert Mauli Agbe that since May 29, 2023, the caterer stationed in the school had not been able to cook for the students, leaving them to their fate. Now, the caterer is said to have abandoned her duty in the school, citing non-payment of arrears owed her by the government.
Okay.
A development which had virtually made it impossible for her to continue to cook for the students. As a result, some of the students abandoned classes, and they had a reason that they could not go to school to study on an empty stomach. With a total of about 600 students in the school, 200 were regular in school due to the situation.
So since the lunch stopped because the caterer couldn't provide, 1/3 of the students come, 2/3 stop coming.
Yeah, it goes on to say, speaking during the protests against the happenings in the school, some of the students said they were suffering as they had been denied their daily food for more than a month now, saying, what is very worrying is that due to the shortage of food, quote unquote, we have been compelled to eat one kind of food throughout the whole week. Now, one of them said, it is very sad, and I'm quoting, that we are sometimes forced to eat banku and okra stew throughout the whole week. Now, and therefore called on the Ministry of Education and the government to take immediate steps to address the issue to pave the way for the caterer's return. Now, a first-year female student called on the government to provide them with their school uniforms and other attires since it was long overdue, saying, quote unquote, we also demand the construction of a place of convenience since we can no longer attend to nature's calls in bushes around the school. However, the Binduri District Director of the Ghana Education Service, John Doka Jagri, who visited the school in the course of the protest, said although the protest was intended to register their concerns, it was important for them to calm down as it would be addressed. Subsequently, he asked the students to stay home until the issues are addressed for them to return. There's a quote here that says, if you are not ready to go back to the classroom to continue with academic work, then remain home until you are informed to come back to school. I wish to assure you that the directorate will meet with the management of the school and the caterer to resolve the issue to pave the way for the reopening of the school, hopefully on Monday, July 17, 2023.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the final year students are currently in school writing their mock examination in preparation towards this year's West Africa Seniors Secondary Certificate examination.
So this is a very complete story. The issues are more than... So actually the main issue is that they have not been getting the food.
Yeah, so there are a number of things. First, the caterer who was preparing the food for them, government owes her. We all know what has been happening.
So she has stopped cooking the food.
So she stopped cooking the food. Now, as a result of that, there appears to be shortage. Now, what is happening is that they now have to give them one type of food for a whole week, according to what they're saying. So banku and okra, they are having to eat that for a whole week without any variation. And sometimes it would seem, reading the story, that sometimes they don't get the food. So they are agitating over that. Then there's also a place of convenience which is not available.
Hold on, no. If the caterer hasn't been giving them food since May 29, they couldn't be complaining of eating the same type of food.
I mean,
so they're probably
I
saying
am guessing
they
they
are
are buying the food.
yes,
Buying
because
it from
because
As somebody who sells banku and okra there.
because the flow of the story, it's not possible to say you are striking because you are not getting food, and at the same time say you are eating only one food. Those are two separate problems. And from the flow of the story in this version you
They are
read,
buying the food.
they are probably having access to only banku and okra to buy or to eat at home or whatever. Do you understand? Because they are saying the main problem is that they are not even giving them the food. Do you follow my logic? Now, this is the problem we've created. We know that the school feeding helps people go to school because a lot of these rural communities, parents will force kids to farm and sometimes not go to school when planting season is ongoing. So one of the ways the government keeps people in school is by using the food to entice the parents. That look, send your child to school, at least they have food to eat. So you notice that enrollment went up. You can ask Kofi Asare, he's the master of this, because of this. So this is an add-on that we think is good. Do you follow me? So again, if there's, and we know the government is not paying the people. All right. In fact, there's another story today in the Class FM online where Educhum said they will start getting payments today, this week. Let me. So my point is that I still think that deciding not to study is not the solution. Closing down the school doesn't help the student because you see, why could not change the WASI date? The course outline is still the same. The syllabus will not be reduced because of your strike. Do you follow me? When I was in Presec, we knew what the course outline was, and we were always working with syllabus. So there are certain times that the teacher will say, he has finished, and we want to do next term syllabus because we are free. We want to make, because we are preparing for WASI, we are not preparing for just end of term. Now, you are in a deprived school. Binduri is a poor district. You have 600 students. You don't have a place of convenience. Government is not providing the caterer. Government must address that. Protest is great. Protest, register your protest. But if you go and sit at home, it means, let's assume you are doing geography. It means that there are many, many things in mapping and surveying that you will not have done before the exam. And WAEC will not change the exam because you are home. And it's not like you are home learning. You hear me? So if I had a brother or a sister in the school, I'll say, no, do your protest, let the people work on it, but go back to school. You get me? To say that you are getting only Banku and Okro and it's boring, look, we are not endorsing hardship. But Kai, all of us, at some point, education is not just the knowledge. All the things you go through contribute to who you become as a person. All right, so I think the students they've registered their protest. The district director has come to confirm that they are right. They are not going to suspend anybody for striking. Go to school. Because when you, assuming today is what, July 13, let's assume they go back to school in August. It means that they have a shorter time to finish their course. Who suffers? Because 10, 20 years ago, there was no school feeding anyway. When we and I were in school, they didn't give us free food. We still finished. When the people in University of Ghana who went to Binduri school, were they giving food? That doesn't mean that you don't deserve your food, though. But I think that in the interest of academic work and the students themselves, Charlie, eat the banku like that.
You see, but I note your point. But let me also say that, look, it is also the case that not everybody in that school would necessarily have come from Binduri.
Okay.
We have seen in the past postings made from other regions to places that are supposed to, or schools that are supposed to be day schools. And citizens have had to move from, say, Volta region to Binduri to go and study, in which case they need to get accommodation and all of that. We've heard that in the past. Now, while not speaking to specific facts in Binduri to support that particular argument, it is safe to say that if this indeed happened in the past, it is possible that some of the folks there would have come in from other parts of the country. Now, if that position then is true, then one can proceed and make the argument that the fact that, the provision of food is not as consistent, and that the fact that there is no variation may give some room for legitimate concerns to be raised. Because first of all, if you are there away from your family and perhaps money is not coming in regularly, what it means is you cannot provide even your breakfast, let alone your dinner. So what you then depend on most,
the hot meal.
Yeah, will be the
to balance the day.
Yeah, that's right.
So if that one is not coming,
then there's a problem.
That's what I agree with.
So in the circumstances, I think that there has got to be some further information as to what exactly is happening.
There's an additional information I'm getting, which I want to read. Bernard, in some of the community day schools, students have become boarders because they commute from very far places.
As I was saying.
What happens is that they have 24 classrooms and some have been converted into dormitories.
Okay.
So some students stay on campus as day students. These are poor people from the north who have come to school with nothing. And so they rely on the okra soup, which is stored overnight and used the next day. Some have rented places in town, and so they rely on this food due to the fact that they don't have the means and what is given them is meager. So yes, not going to school is bad, but the school should also do better. Logo Security Senior High School in Upper West East has the same problem. Students cook their own food on campus, and the recipe there, and they reside there as day students. And so the one hot meal is key to their survival.
See, so yeah, so you get a point. So
Yeah.
clearly, it would seem
Yeah.
that these guys moved from
Yeah.
their respective communities to
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah.
In which case, they are removed from the comfort of their parents or maybe people who would have provided for them. Again, these are poor. Some of them are poor anyway. So if the government is not providing that, then there is the dereliction of duty. Because, as I always say,
Yeah.
habede, you understand? So if you don't have anything in your belly, you cannot do that. Of course, I appreciate that. What a mother has
It's what you give.
is what you give. But you see, the government has got to understand that it brought this responsibility upon itself.
I have a story here to help
we
you.
are going to do this.
Now they are
So
hot.
you must do it to the glory of God.
The
If you are
leadership.
not doing it, it's not right.
Let me add some meat to your comment. Part of your arrears will be released this week. Education Minister to NAFCO. This story is on Class FM online, and it reads: the leadership of the National Food Suppliers Association has met with the Education Minister, Mr. Yao Osei-Duchum, on July 11 at the Ministry of Education to discuss the indebtedness of National Food Buffer Stock Company to the members of the National Food Suppliers Association. Exposed person of the association, Kwame Amedume, confirmed this in a statement released to the media dated July 11. According to the Minister of Education, he has released a total amount of 418 million Ghana cedis to the National Food Buffer Stock Company between the periods of 2021, 2022, and 2023. 100 million cedis, 283 million cedis, and 35 million cedis respectively. So those are the three tranches. Now, the story then says it's worth noting that even though the minister says that he has released an amount of 283 million in 2022 to this company for payment, members of the Food Suppliers Association are yet to receive a penny of the said amount. The minister intimated to the executives of the association that in January this year, the amount paid was 35 million, which was the remaining balance of the 2022 arrears owed to the food suppliers. He pledged that the Ministry of Finance is in the process of releasing part of the arrears this week, and that government is not in a position to pay the arrears in full. We wish to state that we are not prepared to accept part payment of 2022 arrears, given the fact that individual members have accumulated interest. So, Sky, what is important about this Binduri story, which I think is good we are talking about, is that at the macro level, minister will make a speech, Buffer Stock will make a speech, we will interview the food suppliers. But the real story is what Binduri students are going through. Right? And I'm appreciating the version of the story you read, where they're talking about not having a place of convenience. Students have to cook for themselves and learning on an empty stomach. So you're right. If we have decided to give them food,
Let's provide it well.
So and that also tells you that the policy announcement versus implementation is not the same thing. So we can announce a policy and make fanfare about it. But now you have a situation where at day school, students depend, because they probably wouldn't have been in school.
If we hadn't promised them.
Exactly. And we are not saying it's good that they don't go to school. But now that you've put them in school, it is something.
What is sad about it is, you and I have sat in this studio and spoke to people from the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
All the time, we got the impression that there was no problem.
Oh, we are the ones who are
Food was
naysayers.
always available. And we saw in some cases the ministers or the officials going to see
Go to my school, take a picture and say, Bernard, I went to your school, there's food.
So how come we say there is food, students are complaining?
It's the food it's the spiritual food. It's food that you can't see.
It cannot be right.
Never.